wedding day is one of the most important days of your life, so we've created a video to show you how to get the perfect wedding day makeup using some of the best wedding day products. The most important thing is to moisturise and prime the skin before you start any base or anything like that. But also it's really important to adapt your skincare to whatever skin type you are. Now for instance, Ayesha can get a little bit dry around her cheeks, but she also has a tendency to get a little bit oily on her T-zone. So I'm going to use a vitamin-enriched face base. Now this has no oil in it, but it's got shea butter, so it's really nourishing for those dry areas, but it's not going to add any oil to her skin whatsoever. Just really massage it in. It's a beautiful moisturising cream, so you use it exactly like that and pop it all over the skin. And the great thing about this is it's like a primer, so any foundation can sit beautifully on top of this. You really want the skin to look really plump and shiny before you start any base whatsoever. I'm going to use a little bit of eye cream. Now you only need about a grain of rice amount of eye cream, so very small amount, and you're just popping it on the area, so basically around the bone area just here, and the product will seep up towards the eye. You just want to hydrate that eye area. And last but not least, lip balm. Again, hugely important because you want your lips to look really beautifully hydrated, and you just want all those products to soak into the skin. Always do your skincare first, then do your primers. Now I'm not going to put a primer all over the face because the moisturiser I used is a primer, but what I do want to do is put a little bit of a primer, but it's also an anti-shine just on the forehead. And I'm just going to simply, with my fingers, just blend it onto the skin. As you can see, this instantly mattifies that area. This is also great for grooms, guys. It's not a makeup, it simply just mattifies those little pesky oily areas that you have. And now you're ready for your base. Now we move on to foundations. Now I'm going to use the Armani Luminous Silk, which is an absolute favourite to most brides. In fact, I know it's a favourite of Meghan Markle's because it's such a beautiful texture. This foundation's got an amazing creamy texture, so it's great for people that don't want to wear too much, but also it's incredibly buildable, so if you do have problem skin, it's amazing. A lot of the time people suffer with slightly darkness around here or around the hairline and slightly lighter on the inside, so it is ideal if you can to possibly get two foundations. We've got one here that's much more yellow toned and one that's a little bit more pinky toned. So I'm going to take a couple of pumps, and this is the slightly lighter foundation that I'm using here. I like to start in the middle of the face and then blend out towards the outer parts of the face. I want to keep it really light. So what you can do is apply it first of all with a brush, and then you can go in with a damp beauty blender and just very gently tap it out. It's all about having that beautiful, fresh skin, especially on your wedding day. So now I'm going to take the slightly darker one. As you can see, this one's a little bit more orangey, and I'm going to take this around the outer parts of the skin, so a little bit into the hairline, and just blend that in. You also want to take this down the neck as well. I don't mind having a bit of foundation on the lips because I find that if you have darker lips or very pink lips, this kind of neutralizes it a little bit. If you happen to have much of a lighter skin tone on your face, but your chest is quite red, always make sure that you can put your foundation down your neckline to your chest. I like to do eyebrows before I do eyes just because I find that they frame the face. I'm just going to simply fill in any areas where she's got little gaps. It's so important to match your hairline with your eyebrows. Just take very gentle sweeping motions because you want to kind of make it look like it's hair. You don't want anything too harsh. If you have slightly sparse eyebrows and you're not quite sure where they should end and where they should begin, this is a really good tip. So you take your eyebrow pencil and you run it along the side of your nose. Where the tip just ends there, that is where you should start your eyebrow from. Then if you want to know where your arch is, you take it through the center of your eye, through the pupil, and just pop it there. And then your eyebrow should finish, again, go along the side of the nose, and just pop it there. So your eyebrow should finish there. So that gives you a really good guideline, especially if you haven't got any eyebrows. That's really helpful, so you know your start, middle, and finish. So now you've drawn in the eyebrows, I'm now going to set them with a little eyebrow gel. This one's got a little bit of colour to it, which is really helpful for people that are very fair, or if you have any little stray greys, a little bit of tint in your eyebrow gel is perfect. I'm just going to take it along here, I'm just going to set it. Next up is eyes. Now, this is obviously the very important part. It's so important not to go crazy on your wedding day. Go with colours that you know you're comfortable with and that you feel incredibly beautiful in. Now, I'm going to start off with an eyeshadow primer. This is from Urban Decay. I absolutely love this, and I think it's so important to start with an eyeshadow primer, especially if you are a bit of a weeper, then you know this is not going to go anywhere. You only need a very small amount and you simply just pop it over the eyelid. Now, once you've primed the eye, I like to go in with a creamy eyeshadow. Again, this will just assure that any powder products that you pop on is going to stick to the eye. So I'm going to take number 11 eye tint in Armani, which is this beautiful kind of pearlized colour, which is gorgeous as just a base. And I'm just going to take that all over the socket area. So I'm going to take this Huda eyeshadow palette, and this is the colour Smoky, and it's absolutely perfect. So I'm going to go in with this beautiful kind of sheeny bronze. And I start right on the lash line and then I blend it upwards using bouncing kind of motions. I'm going to take these two matte ones here, so a darker one and that kind of caramelly colour, into the crease of the eye, and I think that's much more flattering when it is matte rather than shimmery. You really want all these colours to blend beautifully with one another. You don't want any harsh lines. If you just take very slow, kind of delicate movements, you'll see that the eyeshadows will just all beautifully combine. Now I'm moving on to eyeliner. Now I'm choosing a black pencil. So I'm taking this Armani black liner and just simply go right to the lash line. You don't want any gap between the lash root and the skin. Start in the middle and then very gently, using these kind of sweeping motions, blend it outwards. I'm now going to go back into my eyeshadow palette and I'm going to take the black. I like to use a slightly angled brush, and then I'm going to go over the top of the eyeliner. Now I'm going to take a slightly smaller rounded head brush. I'm just going to make sure that that's all really beautifully blended. So you're kind of marrying the two shades together. I'm going to go back in with the eyeliner now underneath the eye, but again I want this to be very subtle. Take a couple of dots and make sure that it's right onto that lash line, and then you're taking the smudger on the end and you simply just wash over it. The last thing I like to do on the eyes is take a really fluffy blending brush and simply go over the eyeshadow. The final touches to the eyes are obviously eyelash curlers and mascara. I think eyelash curlers are crucial because they just lift the eyelashes up. So I'm going to bend and slightly curl the lashes to really lift them. And then I'm going to take the Black Ecstasy mascara. This is a gorgeous wand because it's really fluffy. So it's going to assure that I'm going to coat every single lash. Now what I like to do is do the bottom lashes first, because then when you look up to do your top ones, you don't smudge it. Not too much, just to kind of separate the lashes. I like to wiggle the brush a little bit so I really get to the root of the lash, and then just comb it through. I'm going to go in with a little bit of colour corrector just to correct any darkness under here, and then I'm going to lift that whole eye area with a concealer. I'm going to go in with a little bit of dark peach, and I'm going to very gently just pop that on any of the areas that are a little bit darker or kind of slightly high pigmentation. And then with my finger, I'm very gently going to tap it into the skin. So now I've corrected any darkness, I want to lift the under eye with a concealer. Now you want to take your concealer possibly one shade lighter than your foundation, and this is just going to lift that whole area. I always take it middle of the forehead, because again you want this bit to be a bit lighter as well, and then a little bit down the nose. As part of the wedding day makeup look, we're now going to be moving on to contour, and I'm going to use the brand new Armani Neo Nude collection, which is so exciting because it's a beautiful gel-based contour product, and it just glides onto the skin and just blends so your skin looks fantastic. Because of its texture, it's not too creamy, so you're not actually disturbing any of the makeup that you've already put on. It's actually just gliding onto it, which is really nice because some contours can be a little bit too heavy. I always like to take it under the chin because you give yourself a really nice little shape under there. I'm going to take this Neo Nude, which is a blush, which is amazing. And again, when you're choosing your blush, you want to go as natural as possible. I'm just going to pop it on the apple of the cheek, and you just simply blend it in. What I tend to do with my blushes is make the client smile, just tap it along that line there, and then with your brush, very gently use circular motions to blend it into the skin. And you're kind of taking it above the ear point there, and that will just give you a really gorgeous natural flush cheek. Sticking with the Neo Nude collection, I'm now going to go in with a highlight, and I'm going to just pop it on the top parts of the cheekbone. And I'm just going to take my finger, just pat it in. And then obviously you can powder on top of all of this to take away any unwanted shine. I love using kind of gels or cream textures because I just find they melt so beautifully into the skin and it just looks so natural. And what you can do is a little bit on your finger, just pop a tiny bit just under the brow as well. And then the other thing that I love doing is just a tiny bit on the Cupid's bow just here. Now we come to lips. Now we have, our main focus is obviously the eyes. So I want to keep the lips very, very natural, but at the same time, you don't want a colour that's going to wash your lips out. Now I'm going for this gorgeous colour by Armani. This is 501 Rouge lipstick. I'm going to apply it with a lip brush, getting in every single crook and cranny, but also then you can blot it and then reapply it. So if you can just blot your lips now for me, perfect. That kind of gives you the first layer of lipstick, I find. And now I'm going to go back in with the lipstick and go on top of it. And this just kind of gives it a security of having those 2 layers. So it really will kind of last a lot longer. If you do find that you've got slightly smaller lips or anything like that, then I would suggest using a lip liner just to fill out any kind of areas that you want a little bit fuller. And I'm just going to very, very gently go onto the outline of the lips and just blend it in. Now we're coming to setting the makeup. So this I like to do right at the end. So do everything else, and this is one of your final steps in your makeup. And that's simply just setting any areas that you want with a powder. Now I love this block powder from MAC because it takes away any shine, but it's really, really light, so it doesn't put too much product onto the skin. And I'm gonna roll under the eyes because I really don't want to put too much powder under the eyes. But by rolling it, it will be placed where it needs to be placed, and that's just going to mattify and set the under eye. It just takes away that slightly shiny under eye area. So this side's matte and this side's got the glow. Even though you want your skin to look beautiful and glowing and stunning, you really don't want unnecessary shine. So the areas that are always a little bit shiny, it's always the forehead and a little bit around the nose area, and anywhere else that you think you might get a little bit shiny. And your very final step is setting the makeup. This is a Prime and Prep spray by MAC, and you simply, quite far away from the face, maybe a foot, just go all over the makeup and just let it set. And this will just assure that your makeup will not go anywhere. The great thing about this is also a brilliant refresher spray too. So throughout the day, if you feel that you're getting a bit hot, give yourself a little spray and it will just reboost all your makeup.